All right. Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always ready. What fascinating creature are we exploring today?
We'll get this. Today, we're diving into the world of a snail.
A snail. Okay, I'm intrigued. But snails aren't usually known for being the most exciting creatures.
Oh, but this isn't just any snail. This one's, well, giant. And you guys sent us some info about this one, too.
Giant, huh? So we're talking like bigger than a garden snail.
Way bigger. We're talking the giant African snail.
Hmm.
These guys can grow up to 30 centimeters long. That's like the size of a ruler or a foot-long sub.
Whoa, okay. That's a serious snail. I'm all ears. What makes this giant snail so special?
Well, aside from its size, the giant African snail is a pretty wild story. It's a tale of unintentional consequences. You see, this snail, native to the humid forests of West Africa,
Huh, so it's traveled a bit.
traveled. It's
Yeah.
practically a globetrotter. It's ended up in ecosystems all over the world.
Yeah.
And that's where things get interesting.
Sounds like this snail has a knack for adventure. But how did it manage to spread so far? I mean, they're not exactly known for their speed.
You got that right. But they've had a little help from us, humans, that is. You see, some were intentionally introduced through the pet trade.
The pet trade, so people wanted these giant snails as pets.
Well, yeah, I guess some people found their size, appealing.
Okay.
But it wasn't just the pet trade. Sometimes they hitched rides on agricultural products, kind of like stowaways.
Ah, I see. So they ended up in new locations kind of by accident. What happens then? Do they just like blend in with the local snail population?
Blend in. Not quite. In fact, they often become what's called an invasive species. And that's where things get a little complicated.
Okay, invasive species. So they're not just sightseeing, they're actually causing some trouble.
Exactly. See, in their natural habitat, the giant African snails are part of the ecosystem. They munch on a variety of fruits, vegetables, and decaying plant matter,
Yeah.
helping break things down.
Right, nature's little recyclers. So what makes them a problem in other places?
Well, it's all about balance. Their eating habits, which are beneficial in their native habitat, can become a bit of an issue when they're introduced to a new environment, especially if there are yummy crops around.
Ah, I see. So they're basically eating machines, and if they get into a farmer's field,
It's not pretty. They can decimate crops, causing all sorts of agricultural headaches. For example, in Hawaii, they've caused some serious damage to taro and banana crops.
yikes. Okay, so that's one issue. But is there anything else that makes them a threat?
Oh, there's more. Remember that specialized ton-like organ we talked about earlier, the radula?
Oh, right, the one covered in thousands of tiny teeth, like a little conveyor belt of shredding power.
Exactly. Well, that radula allows them to eat a lot, and a diverse menu, too. Over 500 different plant species. So you can imagine what happens when they get loose in a new environment.
They're not picky eaters, so they can really disrupt things.
Yeah.
But let's talk about their love life, shall we? I hear things get a bit interesting in that department.
Oh, yeah, their love life is unique, to say the least. These snails are hermaphrodites.
Hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female reproductive organs.
You got it. In the snail world, that's like having a built-in dating app. Any snail can mate with any other snail.
Wow. Talk about efficiency. So they're mating and laying hundreds of tiny translucent eggs that hatch within a few weeks, depending on the conditions, right?
Right? And these little mini-me snails grow up fast. They reach impressive sizes in a short amount of time.
So not only do they eat a lot, but they reproduce quickly too. I'm starting to see why they're such a problem.
Exactly. It's like a double whammy. They eat and reproduce like there's no tomorrow. And that's a recipe for, well, invasion.
Okay, so we've established that they can eat a ton, reproduce like crazy, and outcompete native species. But what about us humans? Are they a direct threat to our health?
That's a great question. And while they don't bite or sting,
Mm-hmm.
they can carry a nasty little parasite.
Uh-oh, a parasite. What kind of parasite?
It's called rat lungworm. This parasite, well, it can infect humans, especially if they accidentally eat the snail or even just produce that's been contaminated by the snail.
Oh no, so this isn't just an ecological problem, it's a potential health hazard too. That's pretty serious.
It is. And in severe cases, it can even lead to meningitis. So, not something to take lightly.
Definitely not. This is really making me think about the impact of introducing species into new environments.
It's a good reminder that even seemingly harmless creatures can have a huge impact on an ecosystem.
Absolutely. And it makes me wonder, what can we do about it? I mean, is there any way to control these snails?
Well, there are efforts to manage their populations, things like trapping and even using pesticides, but it's a constant battle. These snails are well, they're survivors.
It sounds like we need to be more mindful of our actions. I mean, bringing any species into a new environment can have unintended consequences, right?
Exactly. It's all about understanding the delicate balance of nature and, well, respecting it.
Well said. So, to our listeners out there, I guess the takeaway here is to do your research before introducing any new species to your local environment.
Absolutely. And if you happen to come across a giant African snail, well, don't touch it and report it to your local authorities. They'll know what to do.
Knowledge is power, folks.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. The giant African snail. It's more than just a pretty shell. It's a story of biology, ecosystems, and the interconnectedness of our planet.
And a reminder that even small creatures can have a big impact. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.